In all generations, there are more workers than there are leaders. Why? It's only credentials that guarantee you a job. But sacrifice is what makes a leader. Schooling will get you a job, but it's committed to continuous learning that makes a leader. Certificate makes a worker, but investment of time, energy, and resources makes a leader. Certificate makes a worker. It is investment that makes a leader. That is why there are always more workers than there are leaders in every generation. No certificate guarantees leadership. No credential guarantees leadership. And now, what then is leadership? It is taking the lead in your field. Taking the lead in your field. Therefore, as erroneously asserted in many quarters, leadership is not about leading people. It's about taking the lead in your field that make men refer to you. Taking the lead in your field that makes men refer to you. Therefore, leadership is not occupying a position. It is making outstanding contributions. Leadership is not occupying a position. It is making outstanding contributions. I mean, there are many companies, and all the companies have presidents. Well, you know the president, past president. Microsoft has a president. Dell Corporation has a president. IBM has a president. And every other company, any other way in the world, has president. But you know, president, past president. Amen. So it's not occupying a position. It is making outstanding contributions. Leadership is not occupying a seat. It is accomplishing a feat. Leadership is not occupying a seat. It is accomplishing a feat. F-E-A-T. That is accomplishing an outstanding task. So we can go ahead and assert that leadership is taking the lead, not talking the lead. Taking the lead, not talking the lead. Like you will hear from Gideon saying, "Look on me, and as I do likewise." Judges 7:17, taking the lead. Look on me. Judges chapter 7 verse 17, and as I do likewise. So leadership is not about propounding principles. It's about showing the examples. Amen. It's not about teaching principles. It's about living by or setting examples. Setting examples. Setting examples. Setting examples. It's not talking the lead. It's taking the lead. Leadership is taking the lead. It is blazing the trail. Blazing the trail. As it is said, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth, and a city set on an hill that cannot be hid. You set this setting the pace and blazing the trail. 10 men shall join themselves to the skirt of it as a Jew and say, "We will go with you." That commanding followership by outstanding performance. Now, it's so important for us to know, just like most people when they think of leadership, what occurs to them is political leadership. No. There is leadership in every field. So you have a leading musician, a leading lawyer, a leading engineer, a leading accountant, a leading academic, a leading minister. How many agree with that? So leadership is not limited to political leadership. It is just an aspect of leadership. You have professional leadership, business leadership. Taking the lead in your field is what makes a leader. And when you take the lead in your field, people in that field refer to you, and others you influence refer to you at the same time. So you can't be voted into leadership. This is so crucial and very vital, and these are gross misconceptions about leadership over the years. They think it's ruling over people. That's traditional leadership. Don't rule over people. People refer to you because of your outstanding accomplishment in that field. A leading lawyer gets natural reference. He will not be voted by any lawyer as their leader, but by virtue of his leading role in legal practice, they refer to him. And in their arguments, they make reference upon reference on the cases he has handled to plead their case. And the number of cases he has won defines his rating. I love what Oprah Winfrey said. He said, excellence is the greatest deterrent to racism and sexism. Nobody cares whether you're a woman or a man, just get the result. Don't you see some women stars in Olympic Games? Say with me, excellence. Excellence is not a decoration, it's an accomplishment. Excellence means to excel. It means to excel in your field. To excel, that's excellence. To excel. You excel in your field, that's excellence. You excel in your field. Pastor Albert, come up here. Praise God. It means to excel. And to excel is to accomplish. So it's not somebody voting for you or somebody not voting for you. When you excel in your field, you emerge a leader in that field. You emerge a leader in that field. And I want us to please know that that is the crux of the matter. Now I'll be showing you very shortly. Now there are some other erroneous assertions on leadership. For instance, it is also commonly said that leadership occurs on 3 platforms. They say some are born leaders. Nothing can be far from the truth than that. Others have leadership trusted on them, and that some achieve greatness. You see, some are born great, they said. Others have greatness trusted on them, and then some others achieve greatness. Apart from that last one, all others are erroneous. Have you ever met a born doctor and then opens a clinic and he says, I'm a born doctor? Have you ever flown in the aircraft of a born pilot? Have you ever met a born lawyer who just bought the gowns and the wig and they say, what's your qualifications? I'm a born lawyer. Because there are no born lawyers, there cannot be a born leading lawyer. Because you are not born, so there's no way you can become leading. You can't become anything because you are not born. There are no born lawyers, so there cannot be born leading lawyers. Does that make some sense? Have you ever seen a born heavyweight boxing champion? World heavyweight boxing champion because he's born? No. Now, the son of a world heavyweight boxing champion is not a boxer. Neither can he inherit the belt. If he goes to the ring, because his father was a heavyweight boxer, they will finish him. The first punch, he will go down and all his spare parts will be scattered. There are no born leaders. It's a fallacy. Because leadership is not an endowment, it's an accomplishment. Leadership is not an endowment, it's an accomplishment. So there are no born leaders. No one has leadership trusted on them. That's why I said it is not occupying a seat, it is accomplishing a feat. So it can't be trusted on you. And some achieve greatness or attain to leadership. That is the truth. Everyone in leadership attains to it. Check on the world heavyweight wrestling champion and he will tell you how he came there. He had to fall down several times on his own with his coach before he appears on the stage. The boxer has to have his sandbag and punch it 10 straight punch and then 10 straight head boots, so that when they hit him on the ring, he's stable. So you never become a leader without paying the price. I mean, I think that is the bottom line. You never become a leader without paying the price for it. Therefore, leadership is not in the titles you wear. It's in the values you add. Leadership is not in the titles we wear. It's in the values we add. It's not in the positions we occupy. It's in the outstanding contributions we make. It's not about leading people. It's about taking the lead in your given task. Billy Graham is a world leader today by being an outstanding leader in his field. When his wife passed on, the whole world sent delegations, governments of all nations, Arab, non-Arab nations, everywhere, including my country. Everyone sent representation to represent their government for the passing away of a world leader by being a leader in his field. It's never swerved into politics. When presidents of nations have a handshake with Bill Gates, it goes to their CV that he had a handshake with Bill Gates. By being a leader in this field. Leadership has nothing to do with color or race. It has to do with accomplishment. You know, you go to the field of sports, nobody cares about your color. When they say on your mark, set, go, and you hit the tape first. Whether you are black or dark, brown or gray, whosoever hits the tape first is number one. Nobody cares what nation you came from. You may come from the least of all nations. If you hit the tape first, you are one. That's what it is in every field. So your color is not your deterrent. Your low accomplishment is what defines your low rating. For instance, now there is no church I will go to in America that will be on my CV. There won't be any place for it. Why? It's not the size of the church I pastor. There is none in America. Not just in number, but in content and quality. I can't be adding to my CV that I went to so and so place, so please write it on my CV. No. It's all about your accomplishment. It has nothing to do with your color or your race. Just your accomplishment. Check the National Basketball Association, the NBA in America. You see how many are from various places, Chinese, African, everybody. Whosoever can play, the club gets him. Because they want to win. So they get whosoever has the skill. And that's all. And what a joy to note that every one of us has a leadership heritage in Christ. Every child of God has a leadership heritage in Christ. And that can be defined from three perspectives. One, as a beneficiary of the Abrahamic covenant. He said, kings and nations shall come out of his loins. Genesis 17, 4 and 5. And Jesus died to make you a beneficiary of the Abrahamic covenant. He was made a curse for us, because it is written, curse is every man that hangeth upon the tree, that the blessings of Abraham might come unto us who are Gentiles, and might obtain the promise of the Spirit through faith. You see, so you belong to the Abrahamic seed, and so by heritage you are either a king or a nation. When I mean nation, I mean an institution. There are personalities on earth and there are institutions. You are either a clear leader, or you have grown beyond leadership to becoming an institution. Come on, say institution. Now then, look at your redemption in Christ. He has redeemed us unto our God as priests and kings. Revelation 5:10. And we shall reign on the earth. So by redemption, you have a leadership heritage. You have a leadership heritage. And Jesus, speaking to his disciples, said, ye are the salt of the earth. That is someone to be sorted after. Salt is a requirement everywhere. Salt deficiency could lead to a lot of health problems and health challenges. So salt is needed everywhere. So you are not a liability to the world, you are an asset. The world needs you. That's what Jesus said. You have a part to play that the world will always need. And then he went on and said, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill that cannot be hid. So every disciple is a pace setter, the light of the world, showing others the way to go. Matthew 5:13-15. I mean, that clearly also shows your leadership heritage in redemption. And then we talk about your leadership heritage in the prophetic. In the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be exalted above the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. Isaiah 2:1-3. Now you are on board that flight, that end time flight, and whatever altitude the plane is going, that's where everyone on board is going. The plane can be on 2,000 feet above sea level, and then you are on 10,000 feet. So if the plane is up, and you are on board, then you are up. So prophetically, you belong to a royal family, a leading family. So you have this 3-channel route of leadership. So you have it. Now let's now go ahead and look at what then will make that a reality. And then we'll look at what I've classified as the leadership covenant. Say with me, leadership covenant. There is nothing mysterious about the word covenant. A covenant is a pact on well-defined terms to which the parties are equally obligated. That's a covenant. Hello? It's a pact based on well-defined pacts, well-defined terms on which both parties are equally obligated. Now I'm going to be providing leadership for an agricultural development program, so I need to be educated so that nobody confuses me. Right? So it's my job, therefore, to get some agricultural store from India, from here, from there, where they are making some present waves in it, and then try to find out what it is about. Say, but you're a pastor. Yes, but I have that assignment, and I have to provide leadership for you. Not by occupying a seat, but by having a sound understanding of how it works. I told them at Covenant University, I said, in 10 years of its existence, it will emerge a world-acclaimed university. It's happening. 10 years. They're only 7 years now. And everybody's talking. Why? Because the requirements have been met. The results must follow. Hello. Is somebody still here? So you don't empower people by money. Gold, silver, diamond, rubies will never be a substitute for wisdom. The real treasure that guarantees a great future is wisdom. And it's acquired with the price of high-level self-discipline. High-level self-discipline. Somebody has asked me, how do you get time to read? How many want to ask that question here? Okay, good. Now, my answer is, how do you get time to eat? Because what eating is to you is what reading is to me. There's a bag that travels with me everywhere I go. It's a bag of books, the books of the hour. The one to check out on. Why on this trip? I read daily and I write daily. And I'm not writing for purpose of publishing books. I'm writing to draw lessons from what I read. There is nothing wrong with prayer, just that it's not a substitute for this. You can pray to acquire skill at a higher rate, but it will not be equal to skill. I'm happy that everybody is quiet. But these are very powerful vaccines. It's stronger than the one they use for swine flu. This is to cure live flu. As you take it, you'll be happy. You know, everything that works by knowledge. Everything that works. Everything. You know why you have a lot of divorces? People are so ignorant about marriage. There are many married people here who have never read any book in their life on marriage. I've never read one. Neither have they sat in any marriage seminar in their life. So husband and wife, the next something, goodbye, I'm not doing again. They don't know nothing about it. Before we got married, I read 8 books of marriage. How many? Man, I was balanced. And we have been in it now for how many years? I don't have any experience of what do you do when they fight. We don't fight. I was smarter than that before I was married. But people have never read anything. There are people who are going to have children. They have never read anything on pregnancy, on how to give birth. So the slightest sign, God, he doesn't know nothing. He's never read nothing. There are people who have never read anything on child raising. They're just producing children. They are just producing. They have never read nothing. You see, you can never be a leader in anything you are not willing to learn. Hello. You cannot be a leader in anything you are not willing to learn. In fact, it's your commitment to learning that brings out the leader in you in that field. Now, let me quickly say this. God is the author of leadership. Who is the author? Now, when the first man was made in Genesis 1:26, he said to him, have dominion. Do what? Be in charge. take the lead, direct the affairs, show the way, set the pace, blaze the trail. You are in charge. That's the word dominion. Take the lead. And then we are told, and God planted a vineyard, planted a garden, and there a placeman whom he has made. So God defined his territory, his field. Genesis 2:8. And then in Genesis 2:15 and 16, he said to him how to validate his leadership. Dress this garden and keep it, and eat of every fruit of the tree of the garden, except the one that is in the midst of the garden. That means manage this field to validate your leadership. Come and say manage. Okay? So, man had a leadership mandate, and that mandate is to be validated by a management task. So it is impossible to define leadership outside the context of management. It is efficient management that culminates in leadership. I hope I'm still speaking. Is someone catching what I'm talking about? So, your leadership heritage can only be validated by your efficient management. Now, let's now look at management in what sphere? First, management of self, management of task, management of material and human resources. Management. And if leadership is therefore defined in the context of management, that already connotes skill development. Because management cannot be imparted, it has to be learned. Skill cannot be imparted. You don't lay hands on someone and say, now be a pilot. Go and fly. Otherwise, I would have done that many years ago and be flying by myself. It will be cheaper anyway. And then all the pastors around might just lay hands on you. Now you're a pilot, and now take me straight to Lagos. There was one time our pilot misbehaved, and one of my sons in the Lord said, let me go for training. I said, before you finish, I will have finished my job. Because before you are qualified to be a captain, you must have flown 3,000 hours. So I can't wait for you. You know, that's why we have very low key leadership rating among many. It is not an endowment, it's an accomplishment. It is not in the title we wear, it's in the values we carry and add in our field. Now, so I have come to define management, therefore, as the product of efficient management of self, of task, of material and human resources. Efficient management of self. So leadership begins with efficient management of yourself. Efficient management of yourself. And that corroborates scriptures. He said, if a man does not know how to rule his house, how shall he rule the church of God? 1 Timothy 3:5. So it begins with you. What does this entail? Management. Management simply here entails knowing where you are going, knowing what it takes to get there, committing yourself to getting there, and going the extra mile if it so demands to get there. Let me come again. Management of self here connotes knowing where you are going, knowing what it takes to get there, committing yourself to getting there, and going the extra mile if it so demands to get there. Management of self. It's not about drawing a schedule on when to play golf, when to play lawn tennis. That's not what I'm talking about. Because until your field is defined, your leadership potential can never have expression. There are many people operating in undefined field. Undefined. They are this now, next week they have jumped to that, the other week they have moved to this, and so they are jack of all trades. One road does not lead to the market, that's their concept. So they go through all the roads. And when you are traveling more than one road per time, you never get anywhere. You go here small, you come back, you go here small, you come back, you go here, come back. So that's what management of self entails. First, a discovery of your field, which is a task on its own. How many agree with that? Not just a discovery, but a discovery and a commitment to abide in your field. You see, I've been doing this stupid thing I'm doing 28 years. Amen. And that's the only thing I've been doing 28 years. Nothing else has had any attraction to me. And many people go through their life without ever knowing where they are going. They are just going every waking morning to another job, and the following day another job, another advert, another job, and they go jobbing and jobbing and jobbing and arriving nowhere. You are a creature of dignity. He said, I know my plans for you, says God, the plans of welfare are not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. So it's important to settle down and discover your place in that master plan. It's a glorious plan. Jeremiah 29:11. It's a glorious plan. It's a glorious plan. To discover it and abide in it takes a lot of discipline. Takes what? A lot of discipline. To discover it and abide in there takes a lot of discipline. When our church was still under 50 people, I said one day in one of the meetings, I said, I will consider it a demotion if I were invited to President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I will consider it a demotion. Church was under 50. But I was so sure of my field that I will not sell off for anything. My birthright is precious to me. My future is in his plan, not in my plan. Somebody here know what I'm talking about. Today I've had the privilege of presidents of nations knocking on my door for attention, not for arrest. I've had the privilege of resolving major issues between government and oppositions in my house on their request. I've never been a party till I die. It's so important for each one of us to know you are not a creature of chance. You are a creature of destiny. There is something about your life that is awaiting your discovery. You need to know where you belong and abide there. Then knowing what it takes to get there is a greater task. Come on, say greater task. Knowing what it takes to get there is a greater task. Many know where they are going, but they don't know what it takes to get there. So they are always on the same spot because they don't know what it takes to get there. No matter how costly a vehicle, it can never generate motion without fuel. Information is the fuel of every vision. Every vision that is void of information will culminate in frustrations. Knowing what it takes to get there is a greater task. Knowing where you are going is a great task. Knowing what it takes to get there is a greater task. So that nothing can be more frustrating than knowing where you are going and not being able to get there. And I think the bankruptcy of many destinies is rooted in intellectual bankruptcy. Inability to be able to appraise the facts relating to the task that they are confronted with. And then committing yourself to get there. It's one thing to know what it takes. It's another thing to be willing to pay the price. Seest thou a man that is diligent in his business, that is committed to his business, that is fully engaged in his business? He shall stand before kings, he shall not stand before mean men. Proverbs 22 verse 29. It is input that defines output in any field. How much you put in will determine how much you can get out. Management of self. Committing yourself to getting there and then going the extra mile if it so demands to get there. That equals sacrifice. That equals what? So in the concept of management of self, we talk about vision, knowing where you are going. We talk about information, knowing what it takes to get there. We talk about diligence, giving it what it takes to get there. And we talk about sacrifice, going the extra mile if it so demands, like it will always demand to get there. Paul the Great said, I'm what I am by the grace of God, yet not I. He said, but I labored more abundantly than them all, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me. I labored more abundantly than them all. Say with me, labor. It is the quality of your labor that defines the limits of your future. The quality of your labor is what defines the limits of your future. And only those who care to go the extra mile command the extraordinary results. There is nothing extraordinary on its own, but by man's extraordinary input. Because like begets like. Your extraordinary input in your field qualifies you for extraordinary performance. And it's your performance rating that defines your leadership rating. It's your performance. So leadership is not in having responsibility. Leadership is in taking responsibility. Amen. It's in taking responsibility. If someone preaching as simple a message as Billy Graham has been preaching for over 60 years could become a world-class leader by a simple message, that will tell you the extraordinary input, the quality of his self-management. Somebody hear what I'm saying? The quality of his self-discipline. Simple message. I don't think he's ever prayed for the sick in his crusade forever. You need to be saved. Come on here now, right now. I've been doing this 50 years. Come. And then the ones who were saved 1940 are still there giving testimonies. You can make anything extraordinary out of your ordinary mandate. You can make anything extraordinary out of your own ordinary field. You can make anything extraordinary out of your own ordinary calling. You can make anything extraordinary. That tells you, therefore, that the overemphasis on vision is great, but it's not the whole truth. If it is only vision, I saw one for 18 hours. I should go and rest. 18 straight hours, open eye vision. Not that you slept and then somebody spoke to you. I was awake. We were speaking to each other. If destiny answers to vision, I should be the most relaxed person in the world. God spoke to me and I spoke to him 18 hours at a go. Thank God for visions. I wish vision were just what guarantees you arrive at your destination. Oh, everybody will be there. It's more than that. That's why I said leadership is a product of efficient management of self, then efficient management of task. That's where skill development comes in. Come on, say skill. Efficient management of task. There are people in businesses here who perhaps have never read any literature regarding their business in their life. They are running it on common sense platform. So they end up with common results and in a common place. And so they call them common man. You know, people are always fighting about the common man, the common man. There are many common men because it's a lot of cost to get out of the common man level. So it's a lot of cost. Skill. Management of task is essentially a function of quality of skill at your disposal. Come and say skill. Now, you won't be surprised that there are people today in ministry who may not be able to define what is ministry. Talk less of how does it run. So, people are building factories today without knowing next to nothing. They just have money and then they think the next thing to do is to build a factory, a pharmaceutical factory. He has no idea of any kind on how it is to be built and what is to be done, and he wants to make a mark there. Particularly among our own part of the world, our race, there is no genuine value for skill. We leave issues to chances. And then religiously, I know God will do it. God will do what? Did he wear your clothes for you this morning? He said, God, I thank you. I just came back from the meeting last night and I love you, so wear my clothes for me. You walk down here naked this morning. No substitute for skill. Every leadership endeavor or vision will always demand skill. I love the way David said it. It's said in Psalm 78 and verse 72. He said, he led them with the integrity of his heart and by the skillfulness of his hands. Skillfulness of his hands. Psalm 78 and verse 72. Skillfulness, skillfulness, skillfulness. By the skillfulness, management of task. As soon as your task is defined, then your responsibility is to build up the required skill in accomplishing it. You know what I'm saying? My son, who led the choirs, vocal for the choir this morning, He's a graduate of Covenant University, and he's doing his master's here. Now, see, when Covenant University's vision came, great. It was a bright vision. But then, what does it take to run it? So I went after 9 world-class universities to understudy the nitty-gritties of their founding and their program development and what has sustained them over the years. And after those 9 extensive explorative studies, I propounded what I consider the philosophical foundation of Covenant University, built up its stamps, and ready to fly. And I proclaim this is the new generation Harvard. And that's what it is today. Covenant University today has the #1 engineering faculty all across Africa. There are equipments there that you don't find anywhere else. Skill. There is no spiritual substitute for skill. Say with me, no spiritual substitute. You don't fly a plane by spirituality. You speak in tongues, then you enter the cockpit, and then you start the engine. You don't even know where to start. The moment you mention your name, and they ask you their questions, since you don't know how to answer, they know that a suicide bomber is there. All the London police will gather in 1 minute. And then the firefighter, everybody, the Air Force, because there's a suicide bomber in the cockpit. There is no spiritual substitute for skill. That's why many charismatics are grounded. There is no spiritual substitute for skill. No ministry, for instance, will outgrow the quality of its structure. No. No company has a future without an efficient organizational structure. And there are many, many businesses here that don't have no structure at all. They can go to work in the morning, sell, buy, and spend. And spend anything, anyhow. Everything that you sell to you is spendable. Capital plus profit. And after some time, we don't even know what happened. Satan, I bind you. Satan will be laughing. Say, I didn't come there. You are the only one. You better bind yourself and free yourself. There is no spiritual substitute for skill. I'd like you to write it down, please. Don't write any other thing if you like. But there is no spiritual substitute for skill. There is no spiritual substitute for skill. I will never approach any task in my life on common sense. No. When we are going to start Word of Faith Bible Institute, I went through 8 Bible schools, gather all their materials, study all their materials, ask those I could meet questions among them, and then from their questions I knew why they were where they were, so I would not repeat their problem. There is no substitute for what? Skill. So our Bible school began in 1986 and is growing in tempo continuously. One of my sons who graduated in the Bible school in 1995 has one of the largest churches in Nigeria today. They are building a 40,000 seat auditorium right now. And took me 1 year, 3 months to build the curriculum. There is no substitute for skill, no spiritual substitute. There is no prayer substitute. There is no fasting substitute. All prayers and fasting will still require that you acquire the skill. You can pray for God to help you learn fast how to drive, but you can't pray to take the steering. Now finish praying, Lord, I take the steering. Go with me. He said, I will not go with you. Because you need the skill, otherwise you'll be killed. Efficient management of task. Efficient management of tasks. Then efficient management of material resources. Come on, say material resources. You believe in budgeting your resources, time and energy and finance. Praise God. When I'm talking about, I'm not talking about finance alone, I'm talking about your time. There are many poor time managers. You could never find a poor time manager who imagines a leader. Great leaders are efficient managers of time. They don't only go to work, they actually work. Most people run their own businesses. They only go to work, they don't work. They have O2 and O3 that answers every second. Even when they are praying, their phones are on. They answer the person, yes, I'm praying. Then another person going, yeah, I'm about to finish praying. Efficient management of material resources, which includes your time, your energy, and then your financial resources. Show me any great leader of worth is a sensitive time manager. Sensitive time manager. Is a committed energy manager. He knows where to invest his strength, and he does. He runs his life on well-defined budgets. He's not a careless spender. He has his priorities right. He invests on things that add value to him and enhances the values he adds to others. You can't be in all those things and not manage human resources at your disposal productively. You will. Because it will build up to that. That's why from Genesis 1:26, Genesis 2:8, 15 and 16, I've come out with that definition that leadership is the product of efficient management of self, task, material, and human resources. And management of self is the baseline for your leadership heritage to have expression. That's where it begins from. When you fail at self-management, you never emerge a leader in any field. Never emerge a leader in any field. I hope we are having a very good classroom experience, are we? You can see now that they don't clap in this kind of method today. This is no more simple equation. It's graduating to complex equations, and you have all it takes to grab it. I want you to live here and just reprogram your life, because there is more inside you than you ever can imagine. It's just to prime it so it can move into motion. You know, there is a lot inside you. There's a lot inside you. There's a lot inside you that's awaiting you, taking full responsibility to be made manifest. There's a lot inside you. Let's therefore look at what I've called leadership covenant. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 5 to 18. He said, there's an evil I've seen under the sun, as an error that proceeds from the king. I've seen fools set in high places, and the rich sit in low places. I've seen servants riding on horses, and princes walking on foot as servants. What is responsible? He that removeth stone shall be endangered. He that breaketh an edge, a serpent shall bite him. Now, that's where the word covenant comes. That means that situation arose because people have broken the edge. Now that you know you have a leadership heritage, for you not to lose your own place on your horse back, let's find out the analysis of their situation. Verse 10 says, if the iron be blunt and you don't sharpen the end, then you need to put in more strength. But wisdom is profitable to direct. Now they lost their place, one, for loss of direction. Come and say loss of direction. When your life lacks a bearing, it becomes a burden. Where there is no vision, the people perish. So the number one thing that came to light in that covenant is direction. The loss of direction will lead to frustration. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keeps to his vision, happy is he. So number one in the covenant of leadership is being able to define your vision, having a direction for your life. Then he went on in verse 15. He said, the labor of the foolish wearies every one of them, because he knows not how to go to the city. Number two is wisdom. What is it? Wisdom. The know-how. Wisdom is the know-how. Is possessing a working knowledge of a subject matter. He knows not how to go to the city. So the second term in the leadership covenant is wisdom. The first one is vision. The second one is what? Wisdom. Now that goes on to explain the things I did earlier on. And then in verse 16, he said, woe unto thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. But blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is a son of the noble, and thy princes eat for strength and not for drunkenness. You understand what I'm saying? That talks about discipline. What is it? Say it loud. Say it loud. George Washington once said, discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable. It procures success to the weak and esteem to all. Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable. It procures success to the weak and esteem to all. Esteem is a product of discipline. Esteem in your field, esteem in your calling is a product of what? Self-discipline. High level self-discipline. High level self-discipline. High level self-discipline. And then he went on in verse 18 of that same Ecclesiastes chapter 10. He said, through slothfulness a building decays, and by idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. That connotes diligence. What do I call it? Diligence. So in the covenant of leadership, the covenant of leadership, you have vision, you have wisdom, you have discipline, and you have diligence. 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 You'll never find a high flyer in any field who is not a hard worker. Check it out. You'll never find a high flyer in any field who is not a hard worker. You never find a high flyer in any field who is not a hard worker. Because God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that also shall he reap. He that sows sparingly shall also reap sparingly, and he that sows bountifully shall reap also bountifully. You never find a high flyer in any field who is not a hard worker. This is so crucial and so vital. There is a story of this young man by name James Owen. He was a high school boy in the early 1900s. And then he asked his coach, "Mr. Coach, I would like to be a sports star." And the coach looks at him and says, "Good. And let me show you the first steps on the ladder to becoming a star in sports." He said, 1, determination. Everybody say determination. He said 2, dedication. He said 3, discipline. And 4, sacrifice. Determination, dedication, discipline, and sacrifice. This young chap picked it up and began to run with it. Now, anyone who cares to run with the things I'm saying now, just watch the events of your life in the next 3-5 years. There will be sporadic, dramatic changes that will bring you very soothing amazement. This boy began to run with it. By the Berlin Olympics of 1923, this boy became a 3 gold medalist. His broad jump, or what you call long jump record, took 22 years to be broken. By running with those facts, I've brought 2 amazing, humbling facts on leadership this morning. If you care to run with it, you'll be amazed at the events of your life. You'll be amazed. I perceived I was not the only boy that had it, because the coach will have told all the others. One of you came to me this morning and said he wanted to be a sports star, and I told them 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of them clapped. "Yeah, coach, that's right." But only that boy ran with it. Only that boy ran with it. And he became a world-renowned athlete. Because when you get to a gold medal in the Olympic Games, you are a world-class sportsman. He got 3 at a go. He got 3 at a go. There will always be more workers than there are leaders, because the price of leadership is not cheap. There will always be more workers than there are leaders, because the price of leadership is real costly. It is no cheap talk, it is hard work. Working first and foremost on yourself, and then working on your task, managing the issues of your life with utmost efficiency. With utmost efficiency. That's how great leaders are born. That's how great leaders are born. The good news is it's never late to be right. Say with me, it's never late to be right. It's never late to be right. It's never late to be right. Every situation is changeable. Every position is alterable. It's never late to be right. He said, if you hear his word today, harden not your heart, because today is not late. Today is not late. Today is not late. Abraham came on the stage at 75. Today is not late. If you are willing to pay the price, no one will deny you of the goods. If you are willing to pay the price, no one will deny you of the goods. If you are willing, you can't go to a motor garage to buy a vehicle and they say, no, won't say to you, you are too short. Can they say that to you? Say, can you wear sandals here to say you want to buy a car of this price? No, go away. No. You are willing to pay the price, they'll be so delighted to give you the car, collect your money, and wave you bye-bye, and thank you so very much for coming. That though you are the shortest man in the world they have ever seen, and you are the roughest man who dressed to their workshop, to their store, but you have the money, so take the goods. So that's why your color, your height, your breadth, your appearance has no bearing. What has a bearing is your stuff. Say with me, stuff. The stuff. The stuff of which you are made. And that stuff is a task. To build stuff into your system is a task. Let me show down in this segment by quickly showing us what I consider the principal raw material for the making of a leader. The principal raw material for the making of a leader. A lot of things have been said. Now, let's wrap it up this way. Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 15. Wisdom speaking said, by me kings reign and princes decree justice. By me princes rule, and yea, all the judges of the earth. Proverbs 8, 15 and 16. Just like flour is the principal raw material for the making of cakes, so is wisdom the principal raw material for the making of kings. And kings here means leaders. The making of leaders. You never have a piece of cake without flour. There is no way sugar and icing can make a cake. They are to decorate the cake. The real cake is what? Made of flour. In the same vein, you never find any leader in any field who is not made up of wisdom stuff. Say with me, wisdom. And now, I'd like you to please listen here because this will help us a lot. Wisdom stuff. Now, what is wisdom? And let's pick it from the mouth of wisdom himself, Jesus Christ, who is the wisdom and the power of God. The whole world was ajarred by his wisdom. What wisdom is it that's given him? That both the wind and the storm obey his voice, and such mighty works are done by his hand. Matthew 13:54, Mark 6:2. So that qualifies him to be the wisdom of God in human flesh. What is Jesus' definition of wisdom? Matthew 7:24-28. He said, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which is built his house upon the rock. I will liken him unto a wise man. Who is a wise man? The one that hears and applies what he hears. Now, what therefore is wisdom? Wisdom is not just the ability to think. No. Otherwise, everything can be wise. But not all thinkers are wise. What therefore is wisdom? Wisdom is not the engagement of common sense. Wisdom is the engagement of acquired sense. Come and say acquired sense. Whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I would liken him unto a wise man who has built his house upon the rock. And then came the wind and the storm, and they beat vehemently against that house, and it could not fall because it was founded upon the rock. What therefore is wisdom? Wisdom can be defined therefore as the acquisition and intelligible application of knowledge. Wisdom is what? The acquisition and the intelligible application of knowledge. Wisdom is not the ability to think. Wisdom is the ability to acquire and intelligibly engage the acquired knowledge. So we ponder over the acquired knowledge to squeeze out what applies to what we are doing. That's wisdom. Wisdom is thinking through the knowledge acquired in order to discover how it applies to what you are doing. Ooh. I wish you know how costly wisdom is. Oh. Wisdom is the most costly virtue of all virtues in the kingdom. You want me to show you how costly it is? Let's read from Job 28. And then you see the rating of wisdom in terms of its cost. In terms of its cost. Now, talking about wisdom, he said, but where shall wisdom be found? Verse 12. Job 28 verse 12. And where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof. Hello. So it carries a price. Neither is it found in the land of the living as a treasure. You know, you can dig out gold, you can dig out diamond, but you can't dig out wisdom from the earth. He binded the flood. Now he went on and said, the deep saith it is not with me, the sea saith it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, and the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal shall not equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for pure gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. I'll stop there, verse 18. It's a most costly virtue because its treasure is most valuable. That's why it should not be mistaken for common sense. It's acquired sense. It's a most costly virtue. That's why people pass by without being able to buy it. Now, maybe this example may help you. I had a call to ministry with a background in architecture. I would be stupid to go into ministry with an architecture mind. I'll be punctured. They are world apart. They don't have any bearing together. So if I'm called to ministry and I don't want to mess up, then I must go for what I consider will help me to measure up. So I selected 39 biographies of great ministries to study. How many? 39. It's no yoke. I mean, 39 selected biographies of great ministries that I could lay my hands on. I went into them like someone researching for a PhD program. By the time I stepped into full-time ministry, I was 39 years older than my peers. Because I've borrowed 39 different senses from 39 great minds to see where they made mistakes so I will not repeat it, where they made great marks so I could follow their steps. And so that enhance the quality of my decision-making processes all through the work. We've never borrowed in our ministry for anything. Those great minds schooled me into management of ministry affairs. From their stories, I found their secrets. Hello. I never came into ministry with common sense. I came in with acquired sense and a commitment to apply them as they apply in the various stages of my assignment. So we don't talk of wisdom without talking of being studious. It is your studious engagement that empowers you to walk in wisdom. Because wisdom is not thinking of what you think is right, but what is proven to be right. Come and say proven. You know, the quality of your academic paper is a function of the quality of your references, isn't it? Nobody will agree you are thinking except to tell us how others have thought in the same school. So the quality of your life is essentially a quality of your references. It's a function of the quality of your references. I've never sat with Billy Graham in my life. It will be my great privilege to have such opportunity, but I've never had it. But I know much more about this man than those who are working for him. At least I've read about 4 of his biographies. So I can tell his story, his wife's story, and everything. What he saw in ministry, how he made up, how he came out of challenges, how he handled them. Wisdom is not a cheap commodity. Somebody hearing what I'm talking about? Now, if ministry were only preaching, I would be the most relaxed human being in the world. I'm relaxed, yes, but with plenty of responsibility. That's why I have come to conclude by my opportune access to the secrets of many great lives that every leader is a reader, and every committed reader is a potential leader. Every leader is a reader because it's the engagement of the senses of others that makes him to make sense. That's why I've also propounded that every leader is a learner, and every committed learner is a potential leader. Abraham Lincoln said, I don't think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. Henry Ford said, when you stop learning, you are old, whether at 20 or at 80. And when you keep learning, you are young, whether at 80 or at 20. He said the best thing to do is to keep your mind young. And through the art of learning or a commitment to a lifelong learning. I walked into the office of Kenneth Hagin, 1997. And then here he was, reading the book of T.L. Osborne. Reading. After writing all those books in his life, he was reading another author, 1997. He wasn't reading to post to us because he was clearly our source of blessings and resources. But that was the book he was reading, 1997. 1997. Today you can find a lot of Christian books without references. There is no academic book of worth without cross references. If it doesn't have it, it doesn't hold water. So most of the things people propound they are not proven. They are mere hypotheses. They are not proven. So it's wisdom is not a cheap commodity. Always remind yourself of Job 28, 12 to 18. It's not a cheap commodity. It's the costliest treasure in all the world. Because it demands your time, it demands your energy, it demands your resources. I was away in America sometimes and I bought books worth $9,600 at the time. And when I got home, my wife said, "What did you bring?" I said, "Come see." So I invited her to my library and I opened the first box, books down from the second one, books. I said, "What else?" I said, "That's all else." And then I humorously said, "You see, the content of these books can easily make me a manufacturer of the things I will have bought if I could understand them." Hello? That is sense of value. Your sense of value for knowledge is a great determinant of your leadership future. I will never buy a piece of suit in my life, 9,000. What will I do with it? I mean, who is looking at me? I don't need that. But if I buy books of 20,000 pounds, I feel good. I've said across nations, and Pastor Alba was in 2 or 3 of those nations, that you are either building a library or you are building a mortuary without knowing. Come on now. You are either building a library or you are building a mortuary without knowing. There are many mortuary builders today. They do not. There are people who have graduated from college, have never read any single literature in their life since they left. They just go to work and come back from work and watch TV and go to work, come back from work, watch TV and go to work. Great leaders end up as peasant workers because they cannot pay the price of what makes a leader. Please note from here, wisdom is not a cheap commodity. It's the costliest commodity, but of greatest value. The costliest commodity and of greatest value. Let me share with you the story of 2 great people that have inspired me a lot. The one of them is Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin had only 2-year formal education. How many years? 2 years. Only 2-year formal education. And this young man was an apprentice in a printing shop. And so in those days, they used to give them money for food. This is your lunch money, go and eat. He would save the money for lunch today, lunch tomorrow, until it's enough to buy a book he has seen. So he would go fasting for knowledge. Fasting for what? So he was doing without lunch to buy books. Is that cheap? And suddenly, the lion in him began to rise. Today, Benjamin Franklin is a great name in American history. Benjamin Franklin founded the University of Pennsylvania, which is still rated number 15th university in the world as a 2008 rating. It was founded 1786. Benjamin Franklin developed himself to become a scientist. He founded the thunder arrestor science, engineering. He invented it. Thunder was killing people for free. He sat down and found a way of tapping that energy and earthing it. 2 years from education. You know how many years you have gone to school in your life? Now listen. Benjamin Franklin founded a daily newspaper, a tabloid. Benjamin Franklin became one of the foremost American diplomats. He single-handedly negotiated the French government support for the revolution. I hope I'm speaking well in London. That was what empowered the American forces to win. Today, there's a Benjamin Franklin Day in America. There are only 365 or 360 days in a year. They gave a day to one man who died about 300 years ago. That is the treasure of wisdom. It is not common sense, it's a costly sense. Come on, say costly. Wisdom is not common sense, it's costly sense. Very costly sense. Very costly sense. Benjamin Franklin read his way into greatness. He read his way into leadership. He wasn't waiting and wishing for it, he was working at it. How can someone with a 2-year formal education found a university that is still relevant today? From 1786. Oh, this is a very lazy generation. We just lay by and waiting for things to happen. We are killed by pleasure. Killed by pleasure. Think of Michael Faraday. How many have heard about Michael Faraday? Now, I'm talking about these folks because they are believers. But they did not abuse the faith. Most of us are abusing the faith. I said, God, come and cook for me. Thank you, Jesus. Cook for me now. God, drive me to work. I don't feel like driving today. That's faith abuse. Michael Faraday was a lab. Now, let me tell you a story. He also had a 2-year formal education. I noted some of these things in my book, Winning Wisdom. Now, you see, Michael Faraday was also a printing apprentice. It was a booming business in their days, so people learned how to be a printer. So he was there. But every time scientists exhibited their experiment, in those days, they were going about not watching film and videos and movies like today. It was a knowledge era. Come on, say knowledge era. Scientists will come in and exhibit the experiment. People pay to enter to watch. Michael Faraday was paying to enter. Small boy, what will he do with science? Now, there was this great physicist in his time. They call him Humphrey Davis. Humphrey Davis was a professor. And then Michael Faraday went to one of those exhibitions and took note. Now, for him to take note with only 2 years of education, he must have equipped himself. To even understand the professor, he must have equipped himself. I mean, understand what I'm saying? Now, Michael Faraday binded the notes and sent it to this professor, just to satisfy his printing and then all that, how much he enjoyed the lecture. So one time, a time came when the lab attendant of this professor left. And this man needed a lab attendant. Then he remembered a boy gave him a binded note of his lecture one time. He said, this boy may be interested in being a lab attendant. So he rode on his horseback to trace the address. And he found Michael Faraday. Would you mind being my lab attendant? Oh, with all pleasure. So Michael Faraday was a lab attendant who grew to become a world-class physicist. Now, listen to me. In his lifetime, Humphrey David began to be envious of the intellectual capacity of Michael Faraday. In fact, his biographer said he was reasoning more logically than Humphrey Davis. Well, to cut the long story short, you know the story if you're in the sciences, how great a name Michael Faraday made for himself in the field of science. Michael Faraday was not only a believer, he was also a preacher. But sold out to an undying quest for knowledge, and so earned his place in history. We don't talk of wisdom without knowledge. Now, let me say this. Wisdom is the principal raw material for the making of leaders, and knowledge is the principal raw material for the making of wisdom. So, leaders are made of applied knowledge. Come and say applied knowledge. Knowledge is not doing what you think. Knowledge is doing what you have discovered to be right. Doing what you have discovered to be right. And that's a lot of task. If anything can come out of Michael Faraday, there is something inside you. If anything can come out of Benjamin Franklin, there is something inside you. It's just to reorder your priorities. You see, students don't fail in school just because they are not intelligent. Most of the time they fail because they have wrong priorities. Say with me, wrong priorities. When it should be in the class, it's in town. When it should be in the library, it's in a party. So they dub him unintelligent. Not because he has no sound intellect, but he has a wrong priority, which has eroded his capacity to learn. So when you misplace your priority in your quest for leadership, you fail to become one. Knowledge is key. My library has remained my most valuable asset on this earth to me today. And where I'm sitting down here, if I need a book, I can tell them where to go check for it. Check for this here. Yes, shelf 4. Yes, line 2. Check here. You find around 8. Bring it for me. I have been building that since 1974. I was 20 years old when I started building my little. I didn't know it was library. I just knew it was the love for reading. Using money to buy things that when you see the price on them today, you wonder whether they stole it because of how little they were selling for that time. The first public lecture that was held at Covenant University, the professor asked for opportunity to visit my library. The text he used for that lecture, the main text he used, was from my library. I'm not in academics. Now you understand what I'm saying? It's so important for you not to buy books for decoration. You know, Encyclopedia Britannica. And then you sit and then take a biro. Then they take a picture. And yet there is nothing. He has never opened it. If you open the book, they are stiff. The books are stiff. They have never been opened since the day they were decorated. That's not it. If you truly have a quest for spiritual growth, then go for spiritual resources. You have a quest for breakthroughs in business, go for material that will help you actualize it. If you are not a committed reader, you never emerge a leader. You never emerge a leader. I pray that somebody here this morning has heard something. Oh, yeah. Somebody here this morning has heard something. And all you need to do is to use it. I've told people time and again, I'm not surprised about where we are today. I would have been surprised if we are not there. Because the price, you can't be surprised if you go to a car garage to buy a car and you have the money. Can you be surprised that they sold to you? You can't be surprised. I cannot be surprised that we found ourselves where we are today. I would have been surprised if we are not there. Because I found what it would take you there, and I apply myself to those things, and so getting there must not be a surprise. Getting there must not be a surprise. Getting there must not be a surprise. Now, for instance, we are presently building a second university called Landmark University with agriculture as its main anchor. And for that reason, I had to send a team plus myself to Israel to go and check on 19 agricultural and research settlements in Israel to buy into their knowledge with all the available documents and resource materials in building what is going to start next year, October. And then negotiating for consultancy with some of those research centers so we can have inputs from somewhere in building what we are doing. Anything you do with only common sense will end you in a common place.